Hello, my name is Joe Fautley. Being on the autism spectrum means for me that I'm not able to do everything on the same level as most neurotypical people can do. The key areas of my autism are focused on difficulties with social communication, social interaction, sensory processing, life skills and high anxiety. However, despite these challenges, my autism has also gifted me with an important strength of having a good memory for studying. I was diagnosed on the autism spectrum at the age of 7. The process of diagnosis took around 18 months. This was originally acknowledged due to me not reaching my childhood milestones. For example, I had major delays in walking, speech and coordination. It was agreed by my parents and the specialist school which I attended at the time that it would be beneficial for me to have a formal autism assessment, which would be carried out by a clinical psychologist and a speech and language therapist. Often throughout my life I have asked myself, is having a formal diagnosis of autism positive or negative? For me personally, I believe a diagnosis is extremely positive, as it has enabled me over many years to develop a good understanding about autism and how it impacts me on a personal level. This then enables me to think about strategies for better managing some of my autistic characteristics, for example sensory processing. When I was younger and during my teenage years, I was very negative about having autism. It was more apparent during my school days as I knew I was different to most of my peers. Sorry, it makes a bit more. I found it difficult to cope with my autistic challenges and didn't speak openly about autism. After leaving school and becoming an adult, I started to view my autism differently, as I realised if this was taken away, I would not have my own unique personality. Today I enjoy having the opportunity to speak about being on the autistic spectrum. Also, it's enabled me to continue with higher education and gain 2 degrees in history. When I'm faced with stress or anxiety, my brain often switches off from real moment events and I can often zone out, which means for me that my mind wanders. This is a natural process due to my autism, and I often feel it's a coping mechanism of the brain for dealing with stress. This connects with one of my key autistic characteristics, which is difficulties with sensory processing. I encounter these challenges on a daily basis, and it's more intense when I'm in loud places. For example, in supermarkets, which always triggers high anxiety, as my brain finds it extremely challenging to filter out background noises. In this situation, my brain automatically switches to the zoning out, which then makes me unaware of what is happening around me. This can cause problems as I do not always hear or acknowledge someone when they speak to me. This can also cause particular risks with safety. For example, not being aware of the surrounding area when crossing roads. I often feel the world is unpredictable and confusing. I find it difficult to process information at a fast pace. I prefer a daily routine to help me know what to expect, as this helps me prepare for the day. If something was to change, I like to have advance warning. I encounter anxiety on a daily basis and this impacts on my everyday life. Anxiety stops me from doing many things that neurotypical people can do. For example, I have a fear of crossing roads. And currently I am not able to travel anywhere on my own and always require someone who I feel comfortable with to support me throughout all journeys. I become very anxious when in crowded environments. My anxiety at times leads to extreme tiredness. When I become highly anxious, I always need time and a quiet space where I can calm myself and de-stress, which helps me to be more prepared for future situations. If I'm not able to have sufficient time and space to de-stress, my anxiety will increase and cause a sensory overload experience. Being able to de-stress is essential for all autistic people. My favourite ways to relax include visiting places of nature and, when at home, listening to nature sounds and calming music. For me personally, managing fatigue can be a difficult process, especially when I've had a stressful day. This can often be made worse because it happens suddenly. When this happens, I always need time to rest and adjust. However, if there are times when I do not have, if there are times, sorry, I've got to stop. Sorry. If there are times when I do not have the opportunity to rest effectively, I can become unwell. An interesting way of how I describe my fatigue is the cup of water analogy. I picture my energy as a cup of water that I have to carry all day. At the start of the day, the cup is full, but as I move through the day, the water in the cup gradually splashes and spills until eventually every drop is gone. And when it's gone, there is no more water left. There is no way to fill up the cup again. I have to wait for the start of the next day, when my cup of energy will be full again. Something I have come across about my autism is the misconception that if you have succeeded in education, then you don't fit the criteria for everyday life skills. For example, I went to my local centre, which provides assessments for people with disabilities. My parents and I showed evidence to the member of staff there, as I need a lot of support with everyday life skills around the home and travelling. The staff went through the questions and originally said that I did fit the criteria for accessing support, and they would put me on a mailing list to hear about different events. However, near the end of the meeting, I was asked about education, and I said that I was doing a history degree at university. This then completely changed everything, and I was told I no longer matched the criteria. This was incredibly frustrating for me, as I was not allowed to access the supports which I felt I was entitled to because of my education. Despite showing detailed evidence, they disregarded my difficulties with life skills. These are some examples of my hopes and dreams for the future. I would like to continue with my studies and hopefully gain a PhD in history one day. Also, I would like to learn enough life skills and social skills to become more independent. This would then greatly help with me being able to travel for different purposes, including maybe university, work, or for holidays. Also, to manage my anxiety better. And for my travelling, I would love to explore different places around the world with support, including across the United States and Canada. And also, one of my big dreams is to go outdoor skydiving. And these are some important final messages to conclude. Autistic people face many extensive challenges because the social world is not designed for us. Autism needs everyone in society to come together and have more understanding. We are not broken, we are unique. Autistic people have many important strengths and great potential to succeed through their own personal talents, with the right support from people who take the time to listen and understand our individual needs.